Welcome to my third video in my Halloween week plan. I'm sorry for being so late, but this one took a little bit more time to write, even if it's not as long. A bit of indecision on my end. I do still hope that you can enjoy it. I want to also let you all know that I do plan to do more ASMR videos soon. This is just my way of enjoying the holiday season and bringing a little bit of fear into your lives, mixed with some ideas of my own and some loves I have. Tonight's story has a bit less fear and a bit more of a flirtatious figure. Perhaps you'll see more of him later. Only time will tell for certain. So please, do enjoy my second story, A Little House on the Hill. This was by far the worst idea you've had in a long time. Though really it wasn't your idea. It was your so-called friend's idea, putting you up to this. You couldn't exactly back away. It was so childish, and yet simple. You got freaked out when exploring an abandoned building with some friends, so now here you were. Repent those sins by going into a location alone. Come back with the recording, or be labeled a bitch. You would have just dealt with that, not gone whatsoever, if your friend group had been entirely human. Humans would laugh, make fun of you for a few months. Subconsciously they'd remember, but your actual standing with them would never change. They would still be your friends. You were at least happy to know that there were 3 people whose attitude wouldn't change, even if you came back right now. The other 6, however, wolves. Every single one of them. 2 small friend groups had formed into one very large one. All of you contributed something as well. It was a dynamic relationship, though it was one more filled with anthro mentality than human. Your species just didn't think the same way on things, and talking your way out of an issue you fundamentally couldn't understand wasn't possible. If you came back to them, you'd likely get the short end of the stick at any point that came up. Forgotten, placed in the back of their heads, still a part of the group, just less important. You knew this because it had happened with one of your group before. Trey was different, less rambunctious, more technical. He was analytical, and he saw the change coming a mile away. He told you 4 before anything could happen. Those foxes were so quick to catch things coming. You all still kept in touch with him, and hung out with him from time to time, but the majority of the group just kinda let him be. Stopped inviting him to things, treated him differently. There was a kind of animosity there. It wasn't something you were even able to grasp. You'd ask them why they hated Trey. All he'd done was take more classes. Granted, he'd been asked to put it off, and he was stubborn, so he ignored them. The pack, as they familiarly called your group, was honestly shocked. They just couldn't explain the feeling they had now. It wasn't something humans understood. Like an entirely new feeling and perspective was placed alongside every other trait Trey had had. It took a long while to accept that. Trey said he knew it was coming. Wolves just kinda did this stuff. When you were a wolf, you knew the feeling as well. It was far easier to stick as part of a pack when you knew what that role was. It wasn't their fault, not really. It was just something different about them, but you were unwilling to give it up. It was to face that fear, or lose them, essentially. That brought you back here, staring up at the abandoned 2-story house. Dark gray and brown with age, half of it seeming to be falling apart. Set upon a large hill covered in evergreens, the grass leading up to the hill was thick, weedy and rugged. It was difficult to climb, until you finally found the old gravel path. Even then it was somewhat covered in weeds, just less than the rest of the hill. A video recorder shook in your hand as you made your way up and over to the porch. You stood in front of the imposing house. 1 hour. Explore all the rooms that you can find. Come back with the video and something you found inside. That was it. That was all you needed. Everything around you smelled deeply of pine mixed with rotten wood. The air here felt stale despite the openness of the hill. That smell must be coming from inside the house then. Slowly your foot came up and rested on the porch. You drew up, climbing the old stairs. They felt like they might give out from under you, yet they held, squeaking and groaning with your weight. The handle was so strange to you. It looked almost brand new, some bright steel, still mostly silver, though black in some areas from general use. Your hands clasped it, a sense of nostalgia coming over you for a second before you pulled the door open. You turned back to the outside area and hefted the video recorder. Starting it up, you scanned over the porch, turned back around, and headed inside. It was too fucking dark. Immediately, you were forced to turn on the camera flashlight, illuminating most of a hallway leading to 2 doors and a set of stairs. This place was just as decrepit as the outside. The smell of mold came to you swiftly, and you couldn't help but gag for a moment. Carefully you walked, slowly going down the hall and turning to the room on the right. The door pushed open easily and felt like it would break from its hinges at any moment. The sounds of the house settling unnerved you, creaking from all around and a low groaning above. It sounded like someone walking around upstairs. You walked along the house into a room where furniture stood. A small den area with a couch, 2 chairs, and a large coffee table. An old rug sat under everything, hiding the wooden floor below. The table was thick with dust, and the couch and chairs were covered in a sheet of plastic. A fireplace stood before everything, nothing inside save for old soot and ash. A pile of rotten wood sat beside the fireplace. Picture frames littered the walls, but on closer inspection, you found that none of them had any photos. The only real decoration on the wall was a painting of a fox. He wore a simple blue robe and stared back with a small smile. The painting was rather nice looking, though you wondered who it had been. You let your camera fall on the picture, staring at it for a minute before turning away. Movement was slow going. The house was a maze of rooms connected by doorways. Sometimes you'd find yourself looped back around somewhere by mistake. Other times you'd run into a dead end when you felt like there should have been more to a particular spot. The amount of rooms in the house was rather strange. It wasn't super large, though it wasn't impossible to have so many rooms. More that they were so numerous due to not being excessively large in size. The whole time that you walked, you had the sense of being followed, not being alone. Footsteps making the floor creak, or a groan in the house settling made you freeze, jump, or startle. Turning a corner, you came upon a new room. A kitchen. Hooks hung from the walls and ceiling. Some had dried leaves on them, most had nothing. The floor was covered in scattered old herbs and spices that had been hung for drying. A very large pot sat in a fireplace near the back of the room. You approached and peered inside. It was caked in something black, but you didn't dare touch it. It smelled bitter, so strong for something so old. You took a step back but stopped again when you saw the ash. It was loose, easily disturbed from your movement. You reached out and brushed some of it. It wasn't warm, but it was loose enough to suggest that a fire had been going only days earlier. There wasn't someone living here, and you muttered the same to yourself as you stood. That was enough for you. It was time to go. You'd retrace your steps and then go look around upstairs quickly, and then you were done. The place was freaky enough as it is. A warm feeling came over your back, and you couldn't force yourself to turn around. "Having a little look, are we?" The voice came so suddenly, warm breath in your ear. "Aw, something wrong? Don't you know how to greet someone, human? Turn around and take my hand." The voice came again. It was too close to you, and you could feel the person's body heat, not yet touching you, but definitely close. You couldn't even bring yourself to speak. Slowly, trembling, you turned around. However, the moment your eyes came to meet the figure you were faced with, instead a blinding white light came over you. You stumbled back, reeling with the light. A nauseous feeling came over you, and you passed out. A harsh scraping noise came over your ears. Groaning, you opened your eyes to be met with a sight. Vision came back. Low light in the darkness lit the room and allowed you to take in everything. Dull wood and dust scattered all about, paw prints very obviously having displaced the dust. The light, you realized, came from small orbs floating in the air, red light glowing and casting long shadows. Looking around, you finally came upon the figure who must have attacked you. He stood, bent over a table. He appeared to be working on something. Fox, definitely. Red-orange tail with black and white at the tip. You could barely see the ears on top of his head from your position. He wore long blue robes, trailing down and spilling over the dusty floor. You shifted but found yourself bound, chains around your arms and legs to keep you held against a wall. The fox's ears shifted and he stood up, turning toward you. Bright yellow eyes gleamed at you and his face turned up into a wide grin. He began to turn. His robe was somewhat open, loosely tied. He was showing off the top of his chest and a bit of his stomach, tied tight around the waist to keep the robe settled on his figure. His paws slowly moved, walking toward you. "Well, well, I'm happy to see my little intruder has woken up. Feeling okay? I'm sorry about the chains, but it's honestly for the better. I hope it's not too much of an unsettling encounter." He came forward, towering over you, nearly a foot, maybe more taller than you. You seem well enough, so let us see. How do I approach this? It's so dangerous, you know, to enter the house of a known demon. Oh, no. Aw, don't be so afraid. You wouldn't have known. It's such an old story. That was me in the picture downstairs, though. Let me tell you my little story. What happens when a guy refuses to die? Well, usually he just dies anyway. Not me. I tried so many things, but, long story short, I became a demon. It's certainly not a good thing for you, though. Honestly, what am I supposed to do? You willingly come into my home, the only place I really want to stay and enjoy my new life. You record everything and threaten to bring that footage to light? There are signs here, ones you might not know, sure, but signs that a demon hunter would know. I just couldn't let you get out with that footage, you understand, don't you? He reached out, placing a finger under your chin, forcing you to look up at him. Despite his appearance in the situation, he still smiled as though he wasn't even worried about the situation. Before you can say anything, yes, you could call the cops. It's not going to do anything. They'll come, see nothing in here. I'll happily hide away in the shadows. They'll leave, and you'll be charged for trespassing because, guess what? My great-granddaughter still owns the house. All right? Are we clear there? Good, because I do think I have a proposition for you instead. I'm more than happy to make a deal with you. Hell, I'll even do one that's more in your favor than mine. I truly only need 2 things from you. You have to agree. I'm telling you that now. If you want anything or not, you will agree, or you're just not going to leave. So let me lay out my rules right away. I'll show you my hand, give you that little comfort. 1. I need you to agree that the footage will not go outside of the reason you took it. I know you only need it for one thing. I can see that in your heart. Some friends, where you dared to come in here. Aw, poor thing, having to explore this scary abandoned house. I can't edit that footage, so I'll need your word. You will only show it to who it is for, and then you will destroy it, completely and utterly. You will show that footage, then delete the file and take that SD card, split it in two, and burn it. You must do that, and then part 1 of this contract will be complete, and you'll never have to worry about it again. Secondly, I just need a bit of your energy. I can assure you it will not hurt. I will not take blood, I will not take your life, and I will not take your soul. Think of it this way. You'll be a little more tired when you wake up. Just once. One night where you don't get enough sleep. That is all it will feel like. Consider this a payment in 2 ways. My agreeance to let you leave whole and unharmed, and the payment for something I am happy to do for you. That said, that leads us to you. What do you get out of this outside of getting to live? I can give you anything, really. Anything small, at least. It can be something material. Something within you. Having social problems? I can give you a confidence boost. Bad luck? Luck will shine on you just a bit more each day. Trouble in your classes? You'll be able to remember things much more. Any girls you want? Boys? I can give you the guidance to win their heart, or their lust, whichever it is you want. Money? I can grant you a small fortune. One good chance? Name it, and it is yours. All I need is you to agree to my terms. Removal and destruction of that video once its purpose is served. A single night of your time. When you agree, and you give me the thing you want, then the only other thing I need from you is a drop of blood. A little bit of binding, just to make sure our deal is, legitimate, I should say. These kind of things will always require such prices. It's what binds our kind to their contract. He stood up, walked to the table, and came back with a piece of paper against a clipboard and a cheap black pen. Write what it is that you want, and I'll give it to you. Sign at the bottom, and then... He produced a knife, showing it to you. I'll prick your finger, and you'll dab it beside your signature. Do we have a deal? I've made sure it's one you're not likely to refuse. His face seemed so relaxed, a kind smile with his eyes glittering yellow. The chains vanished from your arms and legs, and you felt a slightly warm feeling in your body. The clipboard and pen were pushed into your hands. It took a minute, but you finally managed to write down what it is you wanted. Outside of getting out, that is. You scribbled down the request and signed. Right away he took your hand, paw shooting out and pricking your finger with the knife. You flinched and looked as blood welled up from the tip of your finger. Hesitating for only a moment, you finally pressed the bloodied finger to the paper. The paper suddenly turned to flames and burnt away. Wonderful, my dear. He took your hand once more and brought it toward him. There, feel better? No more cut. You should feel happy. When you wake up tomorrow, you'll have your gift. I'll come to claim my own payment then when I need it. You are more than free to go. Suddenly, the cameras pressed into your hands. It felt like a rush as you were pushed, walked along by the tall fox down the stairs and into a hallway. You were pushed right out of the door. You spun around, attempting to speak, but a finger was immediately placed on your lips. Aw, there. What's done is done. Do what I've asked, complete our deal. Then remember my name. Remember Murdoch the Fated. Because after today we are bound, even if only for a short time. Now, run along home and enjoy your gift, human. The door slammed in your face, and you were left in the dark atop the hill. Checking your phone, you were shocked. It had been nearly 5 hours. Almost midnight. Maybe this wasn't the best ending. It certainly wasn't the worst, though. It could have gone better, but at the very least, you had something to look forward to. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Maybe you'll get a chance to meet Murdoch another day. Perhaps soon his power will grow a bit more.